In some ways, it seems strange to be celebrating Palm Sunday again, here in year 2 of our pandemic, when we had to cancel in-person services last year. So many of us probably assumed we'd be back to normal again soon. And here it is a year later. In some ways, nothing has changed. In some ways, so very much has changed. Palm Sunday reminds us of the cyclical nature of the world we live in. The palms we use on Sunday traditionally would be burned to make the ashes that will be smudged on our foreheads in 10 months for Ash Wednesday. The baby that brings joy in the manger at Christmas will suffer the most horrible death by crucifixion and then will rise from the dead. The sadnesses we suffer will be mitigated by tomorrow's joy. Tomorrow's joy will lead to future sadness. That's the truth of the broken world we live in. Depending on where we are in the cycle, we may find that knowledge either a comfort or fear-inducing. Palm Sunday reminds us of life's journey. No one gets to live the triumphal entry into Jerusalem day in and day out. If we're lucky, there will be those high water mark periods. We'll be hailed as heroes and people will appreciate our work. Our friends will be by our side. We won't grow disillusioned with our loved ones, if we're lucky. But we know where Palm Sunday is taking the story of Jesus. As we move through Holy Week, we're reminded that today's adoring crowds can turn on us quickly and demand our death just a few days later. Palm Sunday offers us some important reminders. If we put our faith in the world, we're doomed. If we get our glory from the acclaim of the world, we'll find ourselves rejected, and probably sooner rather than later. Let's think about the crowds on Palm Sunday. Let's imagine ourselves as part of that crowd. There are lessons in the crowd for us too. Those first century people with palms in their hands welcoming Jesus, they too were expecting something completely different. They weren't interested in spiritual liberation. They wanted a conquering hero, someone who would kick the Romans out of Jerusalem, someone who would restore the homeland to Jewish rule. They didn't want to be free to love each other. They didn't want that kind of commandment. They wanted to be free of the rule of dictators and all of those commandments. Our world has not changed that much in the past 2,000 years. The rule of government can still be tyrannical. And in fact, if we look at all of human history, it's much more common for governments to be tyrannical than it is for them to be any other way. We still live in a culture that will choose crucifixion over redemption. How can we live in such a place? How can we not yearn for freedom? The passage from Palm Sunday to Easter, that week that takes us from the waving of the palms to the Last Supper, to Good Friday, to crucifixion, to burial in a tomb, and then redemption. That path tells us to take heart. God will not leave us abandoned in this crucifixion worshiping culture. God has been working through time and outside of time to mend this human condition, to mend all of creation, to sew the seams back together again, to take all the frayed parts and make them whole. We don't always see it. But this passage from Palm Sunday to Easter reminds us and assures us that the process is in place and that resurrection will break through, even in the most unlikely circumstances. Amen.